Hello everyone, this is Joanna the Medium. Thank you so much for coming back. These are going to be your messages for the month of November 2018. I want to give you a couple of things before we move on to the messages. First and foremost, thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to do this. My intention is always to give you helpful information that will allow you to know yourself deeply. So whether it is something to think about or something that will allow you to do things differently, or I give you a suggestion or idea, Spirit is here to help you to understand yourself better so that you can have freedom and more choices. Whatever signs you're listening to, whichever is your sign, sometimes you'll be guided to see a sign that doesn't belong to you, and you will find that the information there also applies to you. The way I work with my team is I try to bring information that is of most relevance to everyone in all life, including practical knowledge and practical advice. What I'm trying to say here is listen to your other signs as well as signs you normally wouldn't listen to but you are drawn to. Also, this month, for some reason, I recorded two messages for Gemini. I don't know how I did it. Never have done it before in the last 2.5, 3 years. And I've done them on the same day. It's almost as if I had amnesia. So you will notice that there is a Gemini reading 1 and Gemini message 2, video 1 and video 2. Listen to both. For some of you, both will apply. For some of you, one will apply over the other. I was asked, what do I do with this now? And the suggestion was given to me that I release both of them. So if you're a Gemini, consider this as a bonus month for you and see which one applies to you, perhaps both. And of course, for any messages that you are looking for, or any inside information on your personal life, these messages are general. You're welcome to connect with me. That information is down below for you. More than anything, I thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing and for sharing. I always am so grateful to be able to do this for you, and it is what brings me a great joy. So thank you so much. If you would like to comment how these messages apply to you, I would love to read them. I wish you best of luck. Take care of yourself and see you soon. Let's move on. Hello, beautiful Pisces. These are going to be your energies for the month of November 2018. Right away, the first thing I want to say to you is time to move on. Sounds like this is for those of you who are experiencing being at the end of a journey. For some of you, the end of a journey is being symbolized to me as having been in a tunnel. The feeling I get being in a tunnel, well, for one, it's kind of small, so there's not a lot of room to move, which means it's restricting. Also, it symbolizes to me there's no way out. You either in or out. Once you're in, you gotta wait until you're out. There's no ways about it, and there's no escaping it. So it symbolizes to me an entrapment, a situation when one feels there's no choices. But it also symbolizes to me a long stretch of difficulties. This could be a heartache. This could be another word that's coming to me is the idea of transitions. So many of you will identify with this in terms of you having been in transition for quite some time. The transition is also as a result of something having been transformed. What I feel is that some of you have either something has come to an end, whether it is a feeling that has come to an end inside of you, whether a situation has come to an end, whether a job has come to an end, whatever it is that has come to an end, and you are transiting out of it. The feeling is you are on the right track. So if you have been wondering where the hell is this leading me precisely, chances are you won't know until you get there. The symbolic death card is being shown to me, symbolizing as you go through this transition, you are shedding many layers that actually have contributed to you feeling confined in some ways. So whatever transition you're going through, it involves looking at your insecurities, let's call it that way, and then finding different strategies to deal with it going forward in terms of your future. So this is the symbol that I'm being shown, is being in a long stretched a tunnel. However, I see the end, I see the light at the end of the tunnel, which symbolizes to me a completion. You're nearly there. You're almost there. For some of you, this will be a feeling of having arrived, or for others of you, it will be an actual end of a situation and beginning of a new one. And this could literally mean you leaving one home and find yourself in a new home, as in move. So that's going to be obviously for some of you. October for some of you is stamp marked for me, and this is symbolizing that something substantial transpired in the month of October. For some of you, it's October of 2017. For some of you, it is October as in the one that just passed. And I am recording this somewhere around mid October. I also want to say the words dive right in. So there's a need here to dive into some uncomfortable feelings perhaps. And my intention with these messages is to always give you something to chew on, something to think about, something to contemplate, and see if you can find a way to implement the message into your life. And if I can leave you with tools and information that can ultimately help you shift yourself so your journey is much smoother, that's ultimately the messages that I want to give to you. So treat this as a way of looking at your life and seeing, at least symbolically, if there's anything that you can get from these messages. The other thing that I was shown is, I saw in my mind, they showed me Two of Wands. That to me symbolizes planning for the future. So yes, wands are generally career, but it's also relationship. So for many of you, you are transiting into or from a new career, and some of you are transiting from a relationship, and you are at the point where you are standing still and contemplating choices about the future, but you're not necessarily implementing those choices yet. You're not there yet. And for those of you who know what this means, you will understand this. Let me just see. Before you make a final decision on whatever it is that you are transiting from, let me just see how do I say this? In order for you to find yourself there, as in knowing where you're going, you still have some work ahead of you internally. So if you're anxious, if you're antsy, if you're in this tunnel and you're in transit, you're in transitions, there is some work ahead of you in terms of your own inner reality, as in your truths and your beliefs, and how those manifest themselves in your life. It is a critical point for you to address these. So let's start off with getting some little bit more details. The card that represents your strength or weakness is a moth. The moth clings to the light. The symbology of moth is one of feeling and believing that the grass is greener on the other side. So the personality of a moth is one of hastiness. And this is a bit of a warning for those of you who are in transitions, who are perhaps too hasty to jump into something, believing the grass is greener on the other side, because the grass is never greener on the other side. It just looks that way from our perspective. That's how I'm going to leave it. So for those of you who have a tendency to live in wishful thinking, oh, I wish I had this or I had that, or whatever it is that prevents you from dealing what's in front of you, there is a bit of a flag being shown to me that says pay attention if that's not you. So this is anything that has to do with hasty decisions, moving too hastily away from something because you feel somewhere else is greener or better. If you're jumping from one career to the next in order to escape the discomfort that you're feeling currently, well, unless you really dig into why you're feeling the discomfort, jumping into something that you think is better is going to only give you a break, but it's not going to give you something different altogether, because whatever it is that you need to deal with, it will show up again. So again, there's a real need for you to address what is in front of you. And I'm saying, what is it? And they said, feelings. So if you've been struggling with feelings of insecurity, if you've been struggling of feelings of inferiority, if you've been struggling of feelings of not good enough, whatever gazillion things we struggle with, it is about this being the time when you address these. And I'm going, okay, why is it so important? Why is it so important? And I hear the words, manifestation starts sooner rather than later. So it is important what you think of first before you proceed forward. And the message here, the underlying message is that you guys know this. What we put our attention to, we will eventually create. And we often put attention to things we are not even consciously aware of. So I'm hearing, give them strategies. An example would be this. If you are in a relationship right now and you're not happy, jumping into another one, or wishing if I was in this one, or if that was in that one, or if that was in that one, if he was like this or if she was like this, life would be better. Rather than doing that, ask yourself some series of questions, one of them being, how do I contribute to being stuck or to being where I am? And the purpose of this information is to help you understand yourself in such a way that will allow you to make different choices and decisions in the future, so that you're not in the same boat sometime down the road. So again, the idea of death is being presented to me, and that is the same way as saying aspects of you are needing to be let go of. Whatever you are clinging on to, whatever you are stubborn about, whatever you are addicted to, emotion-wise or otherwise, and you do have that message, it's time for you to address those inside of you first before proceeding further. And this is why the moth analogy or the moth energy can be a bit of a warning, because if you are too hasty in making choices based on wishful thinking, believing grass is greener on the other side, then you are not really dealing with what is in front of you. So that is the message with the moth. Then the next message to me represents your responsibility. What is it that you need to own up to? What is it that you need to own up to? And you have the card encouragement in reverse. Number one, I want to say about this card, first of all, it's 5 and 4, which is 9. 9 is about, again, letting go. So it symbolizes an ending. There is no doubt in my mind that many of you are going through a completion period. You are moving from one situation or one way of being to another, and you are right smack in the middle of that transition. So the card, and the encouragement card in reverse, it's not that you don't have people to encourage you. Here's what I want to say. I feel many of you have been stuck in your own loneliness. Now that's an interesting message, because it implies to me that some of you, at least, resist the idea that in order for you to find your own bliss, you need to allow yourself to come out in the open. So this message to me shows me that many of you have been hiding. You have been hiding in a relationship. You have been hiding behind a mask. You have been hiding behind your job. You have been hiding behind your possessions. Whatever it is that we hide behind in order to prevent people seeing us from who we are, for whatever reason, it feels like that has gotten you into some trouble. Now, what do I mean when I say trouble? Trouble to me means in this instance is that you got yourself in a situation where now you need to figure out how to get out of. So for those of you who have challenges around inner safety and security, and you hide, and you hide yourself, I hear, help them explain more what that means. When we hide ourselves, we are not allowing ourselves to be our true. When you hide yourself, you're not allowing yourself to be true you. And we do it for various reasons. Most of the time, why we do it is because we are afraid of somebody finding something about us that's going to affect us negatively. So an example would be in a relationship, you choose not to express your emotions because you fear that if you do, you will rock the boat, and ultimately that rocking is gonna lead to perhaps a situation that you find very uncomfortable, and it's not gonna make you feel safe. So you choose to keep your mouth shut. A work situation is you do a job that you've done for a gazillion years. You know there is some other thing to you. There's something inside of you that wants to express itself. But because you're insecure, you keep doing the same thing over and over again. And you're holding a gift back, for example. Some of you, I hear, are psychics and healers. And you are hiding behind a mask. Some of you need to come out with your healing abilities out in the open. So this is another message that tells me that some of you have been hiding, and I feel like the universe is kind of prodding you and saying, hey, come out. Interestingly enough, when you're in a tunnel, you're also hidden. Nobody can really see you because the tunnel prevents one from seeing. So to me, the being in a tunnel also represents to me it's a period of hiding. So that is one message. Another message that I'm getting, and this card is called Common Ground. I actually asked, what are your addictions? What are your attachments? You have common ground, you have addictions, and you have sharing cultural ideas. I kept all three because I felt all three were important. So one of the things that I'm being shown here is that when it comes to the idea of being on a common ground, how do you hold yourself back in order to appease the status quo? This is a very similar message to this. Now, why would we want to appease status quo? They're saying, help them understand what that means. Why would we want to not rock the boat? Well, for one simple reason, it's safe. We may not like it very much, we may not be very happy, but at least it's safe. It's predictable. So what I want to say with this message is, notice what are some of the things that you stand for that you don't allow yourself to express. And as a result, you doubt you, but you also undermine yourself. Not only that, you are not fully living your truth. I feel like this is a message for those of you who have overcompromised in order to have safety, to have security. And I'm going to say it, safety and security, although it's real, it's also an illusion, because safety and security means different things to different people. Yes, we have the proverbial money and all that as security, but we can have money and still feel insecure. So one isn't necessarily because of the other. So there's a distinction that's being made. If you are in a job situation where your belief about what you are doing is against your morals, or it's against your truth, or whatever it is, notice if you are not over-compromising your integrity in order to be there. Now, some of you may say, well, easy for you to say, I have a job where I have to work because I need to make money, but I hate what you do because these people treat these people in a certain way. They're being unfair, whatever the situation is. And that's a great question, but here is the thing. You can only be responsible for yourself, which means you cannot change other people. So if you are working in an environment where you hate what you do because of what the company stands for, one option is to look outside the box and see if there is other things that you could do that would make you feel less at odds with yourself. In cases where there is absolutely no other options, and there is probably very, very, very few of you who will have absolutely not other options. If that is the case for you, then you need to find a way to shift your perspective of how you look at it and find things that you appreciate about what you do. Why? So that you're not constantly in a battlefield with yourself, because it doesn't serve you. Constantly at odds. The message of seduction and addiction is all about what you are addicted to, what you are attached to. So in the example of this job, as an example, you might be addicted to being in situations where you blame others for your misfortunes. Again, that's the grass greener on the other side analogy. And I'm not saying all of you do that, but if there is something of that nature inside of you, then you need to start becoming a little bit more aware as to, number one, why do you feel this way, that people are responsible for the way you feel. But number two, ask yourself, what responsibility do you have for how you feel about yourself? Because that's really where it all starts. So some of you may be addicted to constricting situations. Now, why would we be addicted to those? Well, the reason is actually quite common, quite simple. If we have, for example, grown up in an environment where we were always blamed, where our parents blamed the world for their misfortunes, and you come from that kind of a mentality, you will be generally a magnet to attracting similar situations. So what I'm trying to say here is, as you go through these transitions, ask yourself, whatever you're leaving, whatever discomfort you have been dealing with, whatever has kept you trapped or stuck, ask yourself, how have I contributed to being there? Not to blame, but to understand. There is a vast, vast difference. Understanding gives you power. Not understanding or no awareness leaves us a little bit powerless. So notice what you are addicted to. Also, this is addressing obviously various addictions. Are you addicted to feeling sorry for yourself? Are you addicted to overdoing things for other people? Are you addicted to pleasing other people? Are you addicted to not rocking the boat because you're needing to feel safety? Notice what your attachments are that are ultimately not serving you. And the best way to do that is to look at something that is ending, whatever situation that is, and asking yourself, how have I contributed to being there? Again, not from blame, but from a position of deeper understanding. Sharing cultural ideas is an interesting message because I feel many of you are counselors and healers. And I've said this earlier, so this is something that you might have been hiding. The double six to me signifies the need for nurture. And I see, if you can see in this picture, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a person holding another person. So a couple of messages with this. One of the messages is, how does your environment influencing you right now in a way that doesn't serve you? So that's one. Looking at how your past has influenced you and perhaps the situations you are stuck in, particularly cultural ideas, how social economic ideas, how we grew up, all of the wiring that we experience while young. So there is looking at how certain ideas stemming from culture shape you, who you are, well, not shape you, affect you in a way that doesn't serve you. To give you an example, let's say you are in a marriage and you know it's not working. It is not working. You've tried everything and you just deep inside know. You've done work on yourself that it's done. The lessons with that relationship is done. But you come from a family where, let's say, it's very religious, as an example, and the idea of divorce, it doesn't exist. Like, there is no way, according to your religion, that you're going to get divorced. Otherwise, you go to hell. So you're kind of stuck. And that means that if you adhere to those beliefs and those strict rules, then that means you must be in a relationship that no longer fundamentally fulfills you on any level. So you have to ask yourself this question: is this how I want to live? You may have people who are not very approving of your recent choices. And some of them may be shaking their heads and saying, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that. And you may find yourself going, oh my God, what is it do I feel? In other words, those situations may make you feel confused. But confusion is actually something that I feel is exciting. Crazy, right? Why would it be exciting? Because confusion tells me that there's something is happening and you're no longer on the same page you used to be with whoever is talking to you or what has been in the past. Confusion is change and also lack of knowing what's coming. So confusion isn't a bad thing. To me, it means we're shifting. Is it comfortable? No, not very often, but it's not a bad thing. So I want you to look at confusion slightly from a different perspective. I asked for additional messages, and I'm seeing we're 24 minutes already. There's a King of Pentacles and a Queen of Cups. When I got this message, when I got these cards, right away what I felt about the King of Pentacles is that some of you are afraid you're not going to be stable on your own, or you have issues with stability right now, perhaps because you're leaving something and the fear of stability is staring you in the face. For some of you, there is a fear of independence. Interesting. So if you are leaving a situation and it is now moving you closer to being independent, notice if you have any fears around independence. What does independence mean to you? Perhaps you've never been independent, and that is something that you need to learn. So you will cling to the past, because generally what we need to learn something, we generally try to avoid it and we try to resist it. So notice how that applies to you. The Queen of Cups to me symbolize that the moment you become in charge of your emotions, the moment you understand your emotions, the moment you understand your emotional body, is the moment where you will start to feel secure, financially and otherwise. So this is what I'm getting from these cards. Yes, traditionally they can mean that you are dealing either with a father figure or a male that is could be a boss, or you're dealing with an older female or maybe a partner, but that's much less than the messages that I just said to you. You also have the card of stubbornness, which is all about seeing things one way and needing to open up to other opportunities, other possibilities, different way of seeing things. So again, that talks to me about the moth at the beginning, where you may feel that there's grass is greener on the other side. Crow is another message that came up for you. Whenever I see crow, I always say it speaks to resilience. If you've ever seen crow at work, they're incredible. They're incredibly smart, incredibly resilient. But it kind of landed to me like this, and I don't look at these cards in reverse position. However, I feel with this message I am. And the message here is, don't resist your strength. Now, why would we resist our strength? That would be kind of silly, wouldn't it? Why would one resist strength? Well, if you have never felt strong, the idea of having it may make you feel slightly overwhelmed. You may not know what that means. What does life look like for me when I'm strong? If you've always been weak, if you felt weak, the idea of strong all of a sudden may symbolize to you that you're going to be alone because you've always depended on other people. Now, that's a really interesting message with this. So that's going to hit some of you, not all of you. The other message is many of you have a lot of resources around you. There's a lot of resourcefulness, but I feel like you're too stubborn to ask for it. So if you are one of those people who doesn't want to ask for help because you're too proud, the advice here is shift your thinking, change your thinking a little. And last but not least, the message here is of a psychic nature. And I feel many of you who I'm talking to can see things very clearly. Another message here. So don't deny what's in front of you. Don't deny your gifts. Don't deny your psychic abilities. Don't deny your healing nature. There's a lot of shamanism with this that will mean different things to different people. And another message is don't choose not to see, don't deny things that you know you need to let go of. In other words, if something has come to an end, don't pretend that you can't see it, because that will keep you in your safe little box. Very, very important. This card kind of landed when I was shuffling the cards. So for many of you, it kind of went like this. For many, so it's neither this way, and it's neither that way. So for some of you, this is going to be around relationship. And for others of you, it's about choices, life choices. Could be work, but anything that you are emotionally connected with. So that's going to be for some of you. And I think that's all I have. I hope that made sense. Thank you so much for liking, for sharing, and for listening. Listen to it at some other time, because this will make sense to you at some point, I promise. Of course, for private sessions about your personal life, that information is down below. I'd be honored to speak with you. Thank you so much again. I wish you best of luck. Take care of yourself and see you soon.